Hey, 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 welcome to Friday night. You're back. So glad to have you in the building, and it is going to be yet another treat for you. I am excited, but I got a question and a little information to share with you. Did you know that
Hey, welcome to Friday night. You're back. So glad to have you in the
the people who work in a collaborative setting are 50% more efficient completing their work? That's really impressive, right? Well, today we're going to drive into how building effective teams can transform not just your organization, but also boost your productivity and your engagement with your organization and indeed your clients. And I'm not by myself. So, if you're a purpose driven leader looking to enhance your productivity, your team's productivity, your organization's productivity, you are in the right place tonight because I am so excited. I'm so super excited. Y'all know I get excited, right? I get too excited. But welcome to Purple Productivity with Equip Institute. I'm Florence, but on YouTube, you call me Equip Institute. And I have the privilege, the honor, and truly the just Mm, fantastic all around way to share with you a person to share with you all tonight. Alan Gray, Alan H. Gray. Most of you all don't know him. A few of you do, but tonight you will not be able to forget him once you hear him speak. So I'm going to let him tell you all about who he is, but I will just say this: I have worked with this gentleman. Um, 17, 18 years at this point, maybe even a little longer. I have lost track. I have done some of the very same productivity coaching with him and helping him with his systems that you hear me talk about, and some of you have taken advantage of. So, without further ado, I'm going to let him tell you all about his many endeavors because he is a super busy person. I want you to welcome to the stage none other than Alan H. Gray. Hey, Alan, welcome to the show.
Hey, Florence, are you able to hear me?
We're all good.
Fantastic,
We are all
fantastic.
good.
Well, what a privilege it is to be here with you. And before we get started on anything else, let me first say congratulations on your second year anniversary. What a huge accomplishment and milestone. And congratulations for all of your hard work and the transformative endeavors that you pursue. You're a superhero, which of course I tell you often, but I just wanted to say that here publicly as we begin. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. So, we're going to dive in and then I'm going to let people find out a little bit more about who you are. And I'm going to start by asking you a question. But before I ask you a question, I want to remind the crew, the live tribe, to put your questions in chat. If you got a question about how to be a busy person and get through it and work with the team and build a team, ask your question tonight. I will not be answering. I'm going to give it to the man to answer your questions. Put your questions in, put your questions in. You know I'm going to do last call. So I'm going to ask my first question of Alan and just say, Alan, who is Alan Gray? Who is Alan H. Gray? Let us know a little bit about you.
Well, I am a husband and a father. I've been married for 26, going on 27 years. I am the father of three dynamically fantastic children that my wife and I have the privilege of parenting. I am a pastor. I have been a senior pastor. I pastor iChurch DMV, a local congregation here in our nation's capital that is transforming the community into the kingdom, one person, one family, one block, one screen at a time. We do a hybrid service where we're 3 weeks of the month online. And then on the last Sunday of the month, we are in person and online. So we're excited about that. We switched, ironically, to this hybrid method prior to COVID, and we just kind of stayed along with it. And it just seems to work really well in this dispensation of the church. I've been in ministry for more than 35 years. I am currently the logistics director for the National Prayer Breakfast, which happens on Capitol Hill every February. We're going into our 73rd year, I believe that this is, and I run logistics and have done that for the last couple of years. We're both chambers of the House and the Senate, as well as the executive branch, the president and the vice president participate. So that's something that I'm very proud of, that I get a chance to participate in. I also have now, most recently, taken on the position as CEO of the Ride to the Olympics Foundation, which is an organization that exposes youth and young adults in underserved communities to equestrian sports. This past weekend, I had the privilege of being down in Atlanta, where we had the very first youth polo match. It was the first time that two African-American teams, one from Prince George's County, the other from Atlanta, played each other at the 7th Annual Fashion and Polo Classic in Atlanta, Georgia. So it was a phenomenal, phenomenal event. And it is my task to put a little leadership structure to that and to grow that organization. Our goal is to raise about $5 million in the course of the next 12 months in order to expand that program. We're going to start a DC team, and we have a couple other states that we're targeting. We also have the first HBCU team, which began in 2019 at Morehouse College. So we're looking to expand our collegiate program as well. So that is probably the quickest done in Bradstreet on me of most recent activities that kind of makes up who I am.
Awesome. Well, y'all, busy, understatement. Busy is an understatement. Lots to do. And we talk about here, our lives are dynamic and we don't have just one thing we do. And we are all purpose driven leader. But before I go too much further, what I want to do is ask you all in the community a question, and I want to see who's in the building with us. And so tonight, what if you are new and you've never been here with us before and you're just commenting, put hashtag newbie in the chat. And Live Tribe, y'all do your thing. Hashtag Live Tribe. Make sure I know you're out there. And then the second thing I want to do is welcome you all who are in the building. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. Of course, moderator, so salute to you, Frank Jackson. So glad to have you in the building, serving as always, doing all of the things as our community manager. David Hunt, sir. Yes, we are live, and moderator, salute to you. I'm following you, trying to learn how to do this moderator thing. Don't quite get it, but glad to have you in the building. I want you to ask a great question tonight because you do a lot in this realm. The Emotional CEO, yes, happy Friday, Live Tribe. Glad to have you in the building doing all the things and making us look great with all the designs. I really appreciate you all. And who else we got? I did see somebody else show up out here. Yes, here she is. Are you back? Hey, Yolanda. Ravens Talk with Yolanda. You were up there this weekend in Amesbury. Are you back in Maryland or are you still in Amesbury? Want to hear all about that, what you learned, what you're bringing back to us. So as other folks join in tonight, I, David, I don't know what to say about you. I don't know what to say about you. Oh, I might be live try. Can you get it right? Can you get it right, brother? And I think you know this young lady. I think you know this young lady, Alan.
I do.
Who is that woman? Who is that one? And
I
she talking
believe
about
that
newbie.
is
She
my
been on
better
the show.
half.
She is not a newbie.
I
You
believe that is my
faking.
better half.
She is over here faking talking about newbie. She is not newbie. So I am glad to have you. Okay, you're still at Creative Camp. I can't wait to hear all about what you all did. And I saw your picture with Kirk, so I'm a little bit jealous. Just saying, a little bit, just a little bit. Um, let's think. Let's think. Kick things off about talking about just teamwork, the importance of teamwork as a leader, because we always, well, I won't put it on you. I'd be thinking I can do everything myself, and we know we can't. What's your perspective, the importance of building teams?
Well, I think that teams are critical to longevity. I think teams are critical to authentic, holistic productivity, because, you know, nobody can do everything, and the reality is no one should try. There are seasons and there are moments where, of course, each of us has to put on multiple hats, but the objective, hopefully, is to move yourself out of that realm and to lean into your strengths and to staff your weaknesses. So for me, when it comes to teamwork, to be a purpose-driven leader, you know, there are three C's that try to kind of that kind of undergird my philosophy on teamwork, capacity, communication, and community. Those three C's are critical to me. And it also kind of gives me some insight as to what season I'm in as a leader, because those
Mm,
seasons.
wow. You have a saying or a quote. Y'all know I love a good quote. Those who've been in the community with me for more than 2 minutes, you know I love a good quote. And one of your quotes is "people over process." Tell us what that means. People over
Sure.
process.
So for me, it's actually it's people over the plan, not necessarily the process so
Okay.
much.
Okay.
And and what that means for me is that all plans are perfect until you put people in them. You know, as leaders here on the line, um, I doubt that any of us lack a plan, any of us lack a vision. But what I have found over the years is that you always have to allow people to trumpet, and I know that that might be somewhat counterintuitive for some of us, but in this dispensation of business where we are legitimately wrestling for our viability or the future of our viability as machines um, take on a greater responsibility, potentially start replacing certain skills. I personally do not want to lose the people component. As you well know, I will automate, you know, what I can, but I have to do my best to allow the people component to constantly invade, even if that means it's going to slow down what I productively want to do sometimes, or if it alters the vision. And as I mentioned in my quick bio, you know, I've been a pastor for 20 years. So what that means for me is that, you know, my worldview is a biblical one. It's a Christian worldview, and what I see through Scripture is that the people over the plan, even though it's a quote I use, I robbed it from God. I'll just be honest. You know, it is not by accident that I believe that that's the philosophy that God uses. You know, the world as he created it was perfect until Adam and Eve did what they did, right? So, but he didn't scratch the whole deal, right? He recalibrated. And I think that the sign of real strength, the sign of a real productive, holistic leader is learning how to keep people in the plan, to keep people in the process to the degree, even if you got to shift them a little bit, but not move to the place where, you know, it is very easy to do, and that is to eliminate them and automate um, every component of what you do.
Mm, strong. Keep people in it. Keep people in it. Don't automate them out of it. I do want to say I'm going to come back to you, but hey, Roy, you're still in Amesbury as well. Glad to have you in the building with us this evening. Um, so happy to have you, and you all as you come back from Massachusetts. Safe travels. Uh, Although David, you live in Massachusetts, so you just got to go down the road. But you guys, if you have a question, put your question in the comments. Put a Q colon in front of it. He is definitely capable and able to answer your question. So, and we'll get to your questions a little bit later. this evening. So the next thing I want to ask, I'm going to dig into this building a team a little bit more, and that is building a team. Can I talk today? Building a diverse team and understanding skill versus passion in that diversity. Do you have any thoughts around that?
Sure. When building a team for me, one of the first things that I do is try to do some form of an assessment. Because what I have learned over the years is that we tend to overestimate our skills. Um, and depending upon your exposure, you may have gotten some bad advice about what you're good at. You know,
Mm,
uh, your
say
your
that
mom and
again.
them, your mom and them told you were really good at this, but then when you go to put that into the marketplace, it needs a little work.
Wow.
So we appreciate what people say that they're passionate about, and we need that passion, but we need to really assess, what your capacity is. Going back to those three C's, which, what can you do? What are you lacking in, so that we can, accentuate the positives and staff up the negatives. And that doesn't mean that whatever comes from it, it's a disqualifier, because I think that that is something that we tend to do way too often. We look for reasons not to, as opposed to building, because it's not
Hmm.
just about building a team for the purposes for which the organization exists. But again, if we go back to my personal philosophy, people with a plan, that, if God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that, the reality is that God's made all kinds of recalibrations since the dawn of time in order to keep people in the plan. And it's behoovent upon us, to do similarly, to not just allow something that may show up in an infancy stage, or may not be existent at this present time, to automatically eliminate that person from being on the team. We just might need to do what John Maxwell says. You want to make sure, of course, you get the right people on the bus, but then you want to make sure that you have them on the right seat. And sometimes when people's passions are allowed to be the forerunner for that person, and what they're passionate about, they really don't have a depth of skill in. The assessment helps you catch that, so that you can maximize that passion, but put it where it is best fit, for the organization and really for that person, so that we can both kind of grow together.
Okay. Awesome. Uh, let's move on in terms of, and so before I ask you the next question, I just want to remind the community that this is my anniversary month. So you all are witnessing or journeying with me through this month of reflection as I look back over this last year, where I've grown from, where I have yet to grow to. And so those who have come alongside me, you're getting a chance to. I'm asking the questions for the community, but they really for me. They really for me, so that I get what I need and get fed for what I need to move forward and support you. So moving on, after having said that, y'all, you watching me get a little coaching here. Um, when you establish the teams and everybody has something they're supposed to do, you put them on the bus, you put them in the seat. What's your approach to defining and clarifying their roles and their responsibilities and the boundaries around what they're to do and setting their expectations?
Well,
What's your
I think
approach?
that second C for me, which is communicate, is key. The lines of communication have to remain open, so that we can keep honest and transparent dialogue. Um, because, if we see our teams kind of like scientists, it's trial and error. Um, you know, I personally know that I've had enough ideas that worked really well in my head, that when I put them in proper application, it just didn't really work. Um, so in that same way, I'd like to believe that I extend a level of grace to my teammates, to my fellow workers, that, I kind of do it in a four-stage process. It is, you know, I set the expectation, we talk about it, we see how well with the application of it, if it works. And if it doesn't, then I bring somebody else in. If that doesn't work, then I bring the larger team in. If that doesn't work, then we change things. Right? So it's a four-step process, because in that, one, it is the one-on-one, and then it's a mentoring, then it's a team, and then it's okay, well, as an organization, we need to revamp whatever it is that we were either doing with this person or we were doing under the leadership of this particular entity. Because it may just be a good idea whose time has not come. So,
Wow.
it's important to allow the data. There's a scripture that says you will know them by their fruit. And when you go through that process of trial and error, not in an effort for gotchas, or you bring people into the position where they're operating out of fear that if they don't accomplish this well, that somehow or another they're going to be, fired or nixed off the team or whatever the case may be. No, in the trial and error process, you're able to see not only the viability of the teammate, but you're also able to see the viability of the vision in that particular entity. And it may just simply be that this is a good idea whose time has not come. But if you go through that process, one-on-one, mentor, team, and then organization, it gives you the data you need so that as a leader, you can make the choices that are necessary. But I never want to operate in a position where the team ever has to worry about being off the team, because again, it's people over the plan.
Awesome. So we got lots of kinds of teams that we build. And you in your introduction of who you are and what you do, you hit on many of them, but the one that quite a number of the members of this community, they're content creators, and that has broad definition. Many think it's one thing or another, but really, I believe, and I've said to the community, if you do anything to communicate with other people, you're a content creator. So you create new content every week, literally every week. You create new content every week, and in one role, and that I suspect you do it almost as frequently in another. How do you pull your team in, whether they're volunteers, collaborators, coaches, uh, community members, however you define that? How do you pull your team in and work with you in that creation process? We can't put the words in your mouth or the spirit in you, but can you? Are there things you can do to help your team help you in that creative process?
Well, I think consistency and systems are critical, especially for creatives, whether you're in the content world or otherwise. I think that you need to know what your rhythm is, and you need to invite people into that rhythm for where it best fits in order to keep the schedule that you need. I do my best, and over the years it's evolved and it changes. So I'm answering your question, but the answers are evolving even as I'm saying this.
I
So
see you
go
getting a
back.
download. I know you.
Right. So let me go back. Systems and consistency, which is built off of authentic trust, is really important. Okay. I think that if we kind of connect the dots from what we've said to this present question, when people need not concern or need not have concern about their future with you, you build that trust, then they're more apt to go through the evolutionary journey with you. So that's number one. When they know that you are a priority or they are a priority to you, then as the entity, as the organization, as the vision evolves, they can continue to offer their best in that often fluid environment. With that being said, systems are really important. So I had a time where Mondays were my lock-in day, right? Where I didn't let anything or anybody disturb me, because Mondays were the day where I just kind of really got downloads and started to kind of systemize and things, which then in turn, once I got my vision straight, then I would have a set time where I would meet with the team in order to share with, them, hear this, that, and or the third. and then they would offer, their input, et cetera, and then we'd get ready for, whatever it was. So a system is really important. But the reason why I kind of went back and had to kind of step that out, because, over time, Mondays stopped being my download day. And it was another day, which means that adjusted the whole process of engagement. And in that, I had to then in turn be fluid enough to incorporate other people's schedules into the equation. And I think, at least for me, in my experience and conversations that I've had, many of us get too wedded to the way that things have been, that when the rules of engagement change, we don't change with them well enough. And it's been my experience, one of the reasons why we'll default to the system is because we haven't built the kind of relationship with the people.
Wow.
And the reality is, and I'll go back to a statement, I'm a creature of habit. Plans are perfect till you put people in them. And we have, as a principal, I'm a people too. So,
Really?
there are some plans that I will articulate that, yeah, no, that no longer works. And we have to be willing to admit that, yeah, no, that no longer works. And I think as leaders specifically, so I'm going to kind of come off of the team component for a moment. I think as leaders, we don't give ourselves permission to reimagine something that we've received, or we don't look at, oh, well, maybe that needs to be done differently, or maybe I'm not getting the output. I've gone through the one-on-one, the mentoring, the team, the organization, and it's still not working, but I'm dogged about it. And there's some that will just stay that way, and you'll burn through people in that process. So for me, systems and principles are important, but they also kind of tell you where you are as a leader, and you can adjust that. Quite honestly, you must adjust that so that you can minimize your turnover of the people.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So there are a couple things that I'm gonna blame you for,
Okay.
because you're to blame. And the community has heard me talk about the cycle that you're gonna laugh at maybe when you hear me say it, because I took it from you. And I'm
Okay.
gonna tell you guys, this is one of the things you've heard me say. I learned a long time ago this principle of plan, do, review. Well, now you're looking at the source of plan, do, review in my life, because I don't know however many years, 15 years plus ago, uh, you were doing a training at a very large event, and I heard you say it, and it stuck with me. And then as we work together in various capacities, we go through that cycle with everything. What does that mean, and how did you come, like, it's a very simple process, but it's so powerful. So you can explain it to people better than I can. I'm gonna let you go.
No, you had it, and God knows that this channel um, is fueled behind your discipline to it. Um, and I don't want to sound like a broken record and repeating myself with things that I've said, but that's really the principle, right? That as leaders, as teams, the plan is perfect. And then when you put people in it, when you go to do it, you need to review it. You need to see how close did you come to the plan that you conceptualized. And in the review, you tweak it, you make adjustments, or you be honest and you scratch it and you start over. It is really profound in that way, that it's just that simple. I think what I'd like to just kind of insulate that with, especially in this era, in this age, and truly probably since the first time you heard me say it many years ago, um, I am, I pray I'm much more people focused than I was then when I initially, walked into that philosophy. Because what I've learned over the years is the plans won't comfort you in the end. People are what matters. All businesses should be designed in order to advance humanity. Whatever it
Strong.
is that we're doing, it's for humanity. It's to make our world and we who live on this planet better. From a religious perspective, I want to hand the world that I was handed back to God better than it was handed to me. Or why was I here? So my evolution has been, okay, so what does that mean for people? Now, I'll be tremendously transparent with regards to that. That does not mean that my aim with that focus is to retain everybody that comes. No. When I speak of people or making people a priority, making our teams a priority, I mean that their lives are better, even if that means that their season with me is over. That because of the principles, the plan, of the processes that
Mm.
we have participated in over time, if they were to mark from the moment that we got together to the moment that it was time for them to transition to something or someone else, they should be able to see a net benefit. They should be able to see a net benefit. And that's what I mean. It's not about, I'm not in the people gathering business. I don't want to suggest that, what I'm after is that nobody ever leaves, that, once you become a part of the team, you're always here. That's crazy. Everybody leaves, either by choice or by death. So that's not the goal. The goal is that when I say people over the plan, that what we're doing, either in the vision of the organization or in the participation of the team, people are better. And that's what the plan, do, review does. It allows you, again, to assess, okay, how are we? Where's our contribution? If this has been harmful or detrimental, if this doesn't advance it, then we don't do it. It's got to go.
Yep. So we got a couple, thank you. We got a couple new people who have shown up. So we're going to greet them and say hey to you. I want to say hello, welcome. I think this is the first timer in the building with us. Welcome to the show, Ward. And I thought I saw somebody else come through. I did see somebody else come through. Where you go? Where you go? Where you go? Okay, Roy, tech troublemaker. Greetings from Amesbury. You're still there. I've been seeing what you've been putting out this week while you've been there. So excited for what comes for you coming out of Creator Camp. And speaking of Creator Camp, I want to share with you all. I said I was going to blame him for a couple things. So all of this stuff that you see happening on the screen, the stuff flying in and screens flipping, for those who've never heard me, I use eCamm. And most people got introduced to eCamm through content creation or something like that, or finding it online. Well, I didn't. The way I got introduced to I'm hitting all the wrong buttons now. The way I got introduced to eCamm was through him. He was using it and mentioning, and I was trying something else. Y'all know me and OBS. That was a train wreck. It was a whole train wreck. And he mentioned it to me. I tried it, and I have been using it. And there are lots of tools out there, but it works for me. And I love the program. I love the eCamm community. eCamm fam rocks. And so many of you all, David, Roy, Yolanda, you guys are up there with the Ecam fam this week in Amesbury at Creator Camp. So I can't wait to hear you all come back. But I got introduced to it through him. He was using it long before I ever heard about it. So once again, blame him. It's number two. Blame him. It's his fault that I'm a part of the Ecam fam. Sorry. But you
Well, I'm
did.
grateful to
You
God that
learned
you
it,
have.
but this is one of the things that we've been working through, right? We've been trying different things. If you want to share something about, how eCam works for you, how as a system and even truly working as a team, um, not only myself but others are supporting your efforts, please feel free to share with the community because a lot of folks in the community use eCam. A lot of folks in the community use eCam.
Yeah, I don't remember even how I stumbled upon it, other than the fact that, you and I over the years have traded off different efficiency tools, things that would help us do what we needed to do. And here's the wild thing, eCam was one of those things when we first got introduced to it, that, what it has become, we didn't understand the power in it. We just saw the potential. We knew that there were some things that we needed to do and didn't know if it existed, but just kept trying stuff. And eCam has been one of those wonderful tools that has helped us do that. And for me, it is, well, what can I automate that I don't need a whole lot of people to do so that I can be in front of or work with as many people as possible? For me, it is about nimbleness and simplicity and trying to put it all in a singular place. At the end of the day, when it comes to the people that I serve in the different capacities, I want to know that I can present the best product possible with as few tools or with as few needed items as possible. And eCam is one of those wonderful touch points that allows me to do just that, so that rather I'm here in DC or in the Bahamas, the work
Stop
can continue.
flexing in the
Well, I'm
Bahamas.
just saying, listen, I'm planning for my life 10 years from now, and you got to build it in a manner that you don't have to reinvent it once you get there.
True. True. So y'all, eCam fam, right here with us. Right here with us. We do have a community member question, and I'm going to just remind you all who are in the building with us today, if you have a question, put your question in, because it's not going to be long. I'm not keeping him all night. He got places to be and people to see. So this question came from David Hunt, and it is, what do you say to the leader that refuses to clone themselves or mentor themselves out of a job? What do you say to that person?
They are a limited resource, and it's only a matter of time before their vision dies with them.
Well, that was short.
Yeah.
That was short. Okay, David.
Like,
Well, who?
as a leader, I think the sign for me that you are a visionary or a real leader is that you have an idea that's bigger than you. If what you are doing can be done by you or done in your lifetime, then you're thinking too small. You haven't given yourself permission to explore the greatness behind the reason why you carry that moniker of being the leader. All of our dreams and visions should outlast us.
Mm,
And only bigger than life dreams and visions will keep us getting out of the bed or pressing through obstacles or, moving through no's or all of the things that come from, being the person out front. So if, like David's question, if it can all be done by you, if it's all being done by you and you're not making any plans on expanding beyond that, then your vision and your dream will die with you. There's a scripture that
Mm,
says, "Smite the shepherd and the sheep will scatter." If
mm-hmm.
if 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 the enemy has the ability just to take off your head,
Mm.
see, here's how I believe it's important to start cloning yourself in the day-to-day, and Florence and I were just kind of joking about it. I want to start building for what my business, my ministry, et cetera, will look like 10 years from now. So I've got to start putting in systems. Another transparent moment. When our ministry made the shift several years ago, before we had to, when the world kind of shifted, I got a lot of pushback as to why are you changing what has been relatively successful? And as a result of that, there was a whole lot of turmoil that came from it. But the reason why I was compelled then and in prayer and counsel, never felt like I needed to shift or revamp from it, was not because of how well we had done what we did before, but in light of what will this look like 10 years from now? That with the way that the world is changing, if we don't change, will we still have a same level of relevance? Now, whenever you're ahead of the curve, you have to be willing to accept, a, a lesser result in order to gain momentum and be a bigger player down the road. I'm getting to my point around David's question, I promise.
No worries. No worries.
What that reminded me of when we went through that shift, and we're still in that shift, let me be abundantly clear, we're still shifting through that. We're still making our way through that. What it reminded me was another principle back that I learned years ago around the same time of that quote that Florence mentioned, plan, do, review. It was, if it doesn't duplicate, don't do it. If what you're doing doesn't duplicate, or if what you're doing, you're the only one who can do it, then you don't need to be doing that. Because you need to be able to build what you're building in a manner that someone can come beside you and do the exact same thing. If what you're doing is so unique to you doing it, then that means that all that has to happen for your vision, your dream, what you have been birthed into the earth to do, the only thing that needs to happen is for you to be knocked off the field. Sickness, life, or death, and then all the work that you've done is for naught. So the way that you start to replace yourself is you keep that principle. If it doesn't duplicate, I don't do it. It doesn't mean you can't do more than that. It doesn't mean that that's all that you are. But when we're thinking about the longevity, when we're thinking about this thing outlasting or outliving us, it is based off of the things that are duplicatable. Now, here's the last little tidbit, and I'm gonna shut up. When you're thinking about duplication or putting it in the hands of someone else for them to be able to do what you're doing, you can't expect the result from them to be exactly like the result coming from you. One of the challenges that I had at the very beginning was when I would hand something off, I expected it to be done just like I did it. But the problem is when you're dealing with a team, especially if they're new, if you've been doing this for 10 years and they just came in and they've only been doing it for 10 minutes, how can the outcome be the same? So you have to manage your expectations and you have to put them in a very realistic bubble. If your output is an A plus, then all you need is a C minus from the other person. Now, if it's a D, then that goes back to the earlier statement that maybe they're not the right person to do it, or maybe you need to work on them, work with them a little bit longer in order to get them up. But all you need is for them to pass before you can move on to something else. If you can get it to a C status, cool. Now that means I can move on to something else and then just mentor you. I don't need to be doing it anymore. But if it doesn't duplicate, you don't do it. But that's how you start to work with your team in order to move you to the place where you can clone yourself so that the vision can outlast you.
Mm. David David said it right. Mercy. Love that idea. That was his comment in response to what you said, and it is absolutely the case. We've talked a little bit about tools. A little bit. I always like to hit tools just a little bit. Equipment you use, software you use, you and I both. In fact, a lot of what I've used now, tell y'all transparent. He's been my guinea pig. A lot a lot of what I use now in terms of coaching people through using Evernote, for example. We spend
Mhm.
hours and hours me working with you and explaining the program and setting up systems and workflows and how to use it. But you may not be using that anymore. I don't know. But we've used a lot of different things. What are your top in your day to day, the things you use most often to be productive, and then the things that you use with your teams? Because you have more than one. The either the equipment or the software, or combination of both. What do you use?
So yes, you and I have been Evernote fans forever and a day. So I still keep that um, almost as a redundancy. I am a audio recorder kind of guy. I do my best to record just about everything so that I can come back to it. My most recent, and these two are to your credit, is Fathom for all of my Zoom type um, meetings. Anything that is a virtual meeting, Phantom is automatically engaged, unless the other party has some kind of restriction and doesn't want that. Blocks is the other one, because what those two tools in particular in this virtual world that we are in right now do for me is it allows me to stay present in the conversation while it does the note taking. And then it'll give me a summary. It'll even do, a full recording. If I need to go back, it'll give me transcripts so that I can see specifically certain notes or what have you. But those two things have been just amazing recent tools because I am not now having to lose a thought or miss a moment because I'm having to take a note. So for me, that is, critical because I'm a very in the moment energy kind of, listen, it can move just like that. And the more that I'm able to be present, the more organic and the more authentic my encounters have been. So I use those two right now. You'd be hard pressed to be anywhere with me, and that's not, especially online.
Yeah. And I know we use Zoom a lot, and uh, one of the game changers for us, and I don't typically use that, but really was one of the significant shifts that helped in terms of broadcast was when eCamm released the eCamm for Zoom integration because it simplified not only for yourself but for me and so many others. It simplified bringing, like we are today, bringing you into the production in a familiar environment, needing to reach out to other leaders even when you need to do another broadcast. It made it so that people were in a familiar environment. It didn't require them to learn something totally new that was completely foreign. And share your thoughts about that because you were like, the technology finally caught. Like you literally said, technology finally caught up with the way I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned it earlier. And this is something, from a leader's perspective, and because we're talking about teams, let me just encourage the leaders here on the line when working with your teams. Um, Give yourself grace for being ahead of your curve. Because there's this natural tendency to have a level of frustration between what you envision and what you're capable of doing. And if you're not careful, you will blame your team. You'll take it out on your organization. You'll take it out on the people you work with, because you're looking for a result that you quite honestly are going to participate in its outcome. So with that being said, before this integration that Florence was just mentioning between eCamm and Zoom, we were piecemealing it together. I mean, we were connecting dots that just didn't want to play well together, and we were creating all kinds of digital. We were doing digital malpractice, trying to, really
Not
achieve what.
digital malpractice.
Oh, we absolutely were. There was all kinds of missteps and issues to achieve what we are now doing seamlessly. We were achieving this, but it was rough sledding. And the difficulty for us was that because it was all relatively new, and again, I had a lot of people who were coming from an old way of us doing what was relatively successful. For us to leave that and then come into this, what was in its presentation, felt very disjointed. Um, People just made the decision that maybe, we had lost it. And that again is part of the difficulty in leading teams and trying to keep them encouraged along the way, keep them in the loop with that communication as to look, stay in here, but simultaneously, let me not appear to be contradicting myself. I think now that technology is catching up, even though many of the people who chose something else along the way, they can now say, oh, that's what they were attempting to do, because they're experiencing it in other places where they may not have been able to stick with us in the process. They're able to now say, there it is. And again, as long as you handle them well, then they'll be able to get to the other side, even if it's not with you. But this integration was what we were after in the very beginning. eCamm wasn't playing nice with anybody in the very beginning. And Zoom, was operating quite honestly as a monopoly. It wasn't letting anything else in. And then you go to stream live. Absolutely not. So it's been a wild ride. It's been a wild ride. And what's exciting is where we're going to be 10 years from now. Where we're going to be 10 years from now is just going to be insane. I haven't even shown this to Florence.
Oh boy. Y'all about to see me throw something at him. I'm about to throw something. I'm going to get ready right now. You know what? Do I need to go get mine?
So,
I got mine over here.
we're just getting
Oh my
started.
goodness.
And the tech is not fully there. You got limited amount of time that you can actually do the recordings and all that stuff. But yeah, in a minute, it's about to be real crazy.
Oh
So
my goodness.
yeah.
Anywho, he got his medals. Okay. So gang, hey, Michael Flemings, I see you in the building, sir. Glad to have you back with us. I do want to remind everybody, Remember to subscribe to the channel if you are not already subscribed to the channel. Things that we are talking about, there are links in the description. There will be links on how to connect with Alan in the description. So if you want more to know more, ask him questions separate and apart from me. Good. That will be goodness. Will be in the description here, and hope you all just connect in. And just so you know, this week I actually started playing with it a little bit, thinking of community and one of those tools. YouTube has changed and shifted the community tab, and so now what is available to us as um, with channels in the community tab is more conversation, not quite Discord or Slack or any of those, but now we can start conversations and continue a conversation thread, and it doesn't require the channel owner to just be a one-way post something out. We can have real conversation around it. So I started a couple conversations this week. Wherever you are, I know all of you all have channels. Yolanda, I would encourage you to take advantage of it. David, definitely you. You know, we're all in. Micah, Roy, take advantage of that new capability that's out there and available to us right now to continue your conversation. Ask your questions and answer questions for your community where they're already familiar. It is not always going, there are some people who are not going to come off a platform, even though we have ways for them to come off a platform. Some people are not going to come off a platform just because of the way their mind work or whatever familiarity. So YouTube this week has made that available to us, and I would encourage you to take advantage of it. If you have a question, call, last call. I'm gonna start flicking lights. So if you got a question, Q colon, get it in so that Alan can answer your question. And if you have a channel that you want people to know about, please go ahead and type the word equip, EQUIP, in the comment, and our little friend Nightbot will let people know how to reach you so that we can continue to grow together as a community. Thank you, David, for coming through. Of course, I know you'll check out the rest of the replay. Thank you, sir. Moderator, salute to you. So the way I love to close things out is for my guests to give their perspective, their charge, their final thoughts to the community. And so I'm going to step off stage. I'm going to hand the stage 100% over to you. Thank you so much for being here. For you to share whatever lessons, coaching, charge, going into this next year, not just for Florence, although I'm a little selfish, but for this community that have really rallied around me, and we've learned to grow together. So I'm going to turn it over to you, sir, and let you take it away.
Awesome, awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for this opportunity, and congratulations to both you and the team, to Frank and to Josh, and to all those that helped to make this amazing channel what it is. The best is truly yet to come. And to those that are here live and that will come here later, when it comes to purpose-driven teams, when it comes to building efficiency in organizations, for 20 plus years, the majority of the organizations that I've worked with have been volunteers. We have not paid most of the people that we work with. And when you work in a nonprofit and you're working with volunteers, that principle that I shared at the top of our time together really does matter. People have to matter more than the plan, especially when you're in a position or you're not in a position in order to really pay them financially. It does make you a little more people focused. And one of the benefits for that, or the main benefit for that, is that it has kept me as a sensitive leader. Again, not to suggest that I've been in a people collecting business, nor let me not position myself to say that I've done everything right or well. But what I can say is that I feel better today than I have probably ever, as it pertains to the 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 mission for which I believe I was called to this work for. And not because it's my aim to do it forever and a day, but I know, like, in a good track meet, while you have the baton, you got to run the best race you can, but you also have to, in a relay race, make the adjustments necessary so that you can hand it off. I'll go back to the question that David asked because that stays consistently on my mind. What am I handing off? Am I making it? Am I building it? Am I participating? Am I leading in a way? Am I encouraging my team in a way that it can outlast me and us? And I think keeping a people focus is chief to doing that. So people over the plan, and then plan, do, review. If it doesn't duplicate, don't do it. And with that, those will be my 3 takeaways that I offer for your consideration and meditation between now and the next time you all gather. I pray that this has been beneficial and that I've been able to add something in order to make your night a little better. With that, thank you so much for the opportunity. Blessings.
Okay, gang, you know what we're going to do. You're going to hit this video right here that's going to pop up and watch it. It's going to be from last week where we had a fabulous guest, and I will see you back next Friday. Good night, everybody.